It's not as bad as you think. The torture is just slow. When you are building something, when you are growing something, when you are becoming something, it takes time. When you are building a house, you have to lay the foundation. There's just so much to do before you get to be able to just decorate your house. So this feeling of, it's just feeling like, oh my gosh, things are so bad. It's not actually that bad. You feel that way though. That feeling is 100% true. This thing that's keeping you up, this annoyance, this anxiety, this a bit of paranoia, it's real. It's a real feeling that you feel. But the actual situation is not that bad. It feels torturous. You got to think about something. If someone just comes and like say you stub your toe, right? You're like, oh, I hit my toe, like that really hurts, right? You're like, yeah, that really hurts. It probably had some type of impact and you're like, ouch, right? You don't want to stub your toe again. But can you imagine if somebody was just slowly poking in the one area for like 15 hours? You think to yourself, like, that first poke doesn't feel anything, but like eventually it becomes more torment. So like you stubbed your toe and that toe stub is probably more force than that. But the thing is, it feels worse. It really goes into mind games and mind control. People have this happen to them as well, mentally or emotionally, where someone will weigh them down. Like someone will not be good for them, or a situation will not be good for them. But the little everyday things aren't that bad, but it just builds up over time. For example, in a working environment, you see this very like often where it's like there's like a boss, and the boss is actually not that good of a leader. So every time the boss is flustered, they just go and they just dump on the employee. Or let's say it's like the manager, pretty much. The manager goes in and dumps on the employee, the individual worker. And so whenever that manager or that director goes and talks to the C-suite, and the C-suites are like, our projections are down and we need to do this and we need to do that, they're flipping out. So then they go and talk to the individual contributor, that's just a regular person, and they're like, we need to do this, we need to do that. No, the individual contributor has one job. Their job is to do X, Y, and Z. The manager's job, his whole purpose is to strategically figure out, okay, how can I better utilize this? How can I do that? How can I do like these other things? It's not to overwork the employee. It's not to make the employee do the job themselves. It's not just to be like the person who goes to the meetings and come back and forth. It's the person who strategically can see everything. So over time, the employee might realize, or they might like kind of get to a point where they're like, oh, like in order to keep so-and-so happy, this is what I have to do. Well, if the original problem was low projections of whatever, right? What sales are down, say it like that, sales are down. If that's the original thing, the solution is thinking about the sales. It's not keeping the person happy, but in the working environment, it becomes that. How can I make this person happy? So then they get excited so that they can go talk to their bosses and figure out how to make them happy. But we didn't solve any of the real problem of how to grow this or how to grow that. I'm saying all that, or I'm using this work example of how toxic work environments, or even toxic relationships, or even individual toxic dynamics a person can have with themselves can just continue to spiral over and over and over again, to the fact where the situation is not even that bad, but it just feels worse because we built all these different layers on top of it. And so this is all about having those kind of layers just just washed away. Now, there's this false sense of optimism. If I'm keeping everything emotionally around me sound, regardless of if it's solving the problems, then everything should be okay. But I think we're so used to not wanting to be uncomfortable. We're so used to situations that have to deal with emotional things just being taken advantage of or manipulated, that it's kind of like a fool's a calling to think that just because no one is saying what their issues are, or that everything seems okay, that it is okay. But the situation is this: it's not that bad. When you're building anything, when you're moving on from anything, when you're growing something, even when you feel like just stuck, like you just feel like in a rut, like I want to feel better about myself, I want to feel better about this, it just seems like something's up. That process of you finding what is better for you, it takes time. And so if you are saying that in order to feel better about the moment, it is contingent on you being like 100% successful here or successful there, or 100% developed here or developed there, you're always going to feel anxious about this, because when you're building or when you're growing into your next iteration, into your next growth, it takes time. And taking time, it can't be rushed. And so sometimes the environment around you will rush you. Even your own nervous system will feel rushed because everything's going to feel like a trigger all the time. But true development, it takes time. And the good thing about this, of true development taking time, is that you can't just knock it over. Things that come fast will eventually leave fast. That's why people who live that fast life, they usually crash out, but like just crash in general. Because if something can come very fast, there's not enough foundation. That means it can be knocked over. But the progress to get to where you want to go, the progress of building whatever that is, love, life, career, self-development, feeling better, emotional health stuff, it takes one brick at a time, one step in front of yourself at a time. And that's very long and boring. And long and boring will eventually feel torturous. You'll start to hallucinate. You'll start to think like, well, maybe this means nothing is actually happening. Or maybe there'll be a little incline or a little dip along the way. Not enough that you're looking at it like, okay, well, this is what it is, but just a little bit to torture you. A little incline where you're like, well, if it's going up a little bit, you still don't feel like you're enough. Or if it's going down just a little bit, you feel like, nothing that I do will ever work. But then it'll bounce back up, and then you'll flip how you feel, or it'll go down. You'll flip how you're feeling. You got to relax, okay? It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. What's indicated here is that you have everything that you need in order to have a resolution, whatever this thing is for you. You have everything that you need, okay? But it will take patience. There's going to be a lot of silence as you're building or you're growing or you're going forward. And I'm saying it and it sounds like, oh, personal development, I want to be a better person. It's not just that. If you're going through money issues, if you're going through relationship issues, if you're going through health issues, all of these things that will take time for you to grow or for you to get to your resolution. If you're trying to build something, if you're trying to do this or do that, it takes time. And it will be successful if you can figure out just how to just keep one foot in front of the other. It's not going to be a pain that just feels like, oh my gosh, It is the fear. It's not the actual pain. Do we understand what the difference is? Pain is something, you stubbed your toe. Fear is, I'm afraid to stub it again. And that fear develops into paranoia, and that paranoia creates all of this anxiety. It activates, your nervous system, and it creates all of these physiological responses within your body that makes it even feel like, I wouldn't just say worse than actually stubbing your toe, but it makes it feel like it's around the corner. It can happen at any time. You're hyper vigilant all the time, and you got to relax, because being on that much, being overstimulated, being like constantly on the go all the time is not going to allow your body to have the environment it needs to actually like go where you're trying to go, or actually like build in the direction that you're trying to build in. It's just not. So you might be saying like, well, how do I get there? Like, what does that look like? What does that look like for me? So first, it's going to be a little bit all over the place as you are starting, this. You're like, hey, I'm going to put my best foot forward. But then you're going to get in your groove. And once you get into your groove, you'll be able to really harness this energy. But the problem is, because it's going to look scattered, you might fall victim to kind of giving up and saying like, well, this is pointless. But it's going to start off like that, but just keep going. It's the entire message that's continuing through this whole reading. Like, you just have to go at it and go at it. And it's called the compounding effect, or momentum, or something like exponential growth. Things take quite a while to gain momentum, but once it does, it's like a force within itself. Just think about a line, like a graph, where if you start from here and you go right across, you'll get there at a certain speed. But if you have exponential growth, which is, it's like this curve, this J curve, what you'll notice is that you'll actually end up getting to the destination before the person in the middle. So if you are so focused on everything having to look like it has to look perfect at all time, you're actually not going to get to wherever you're trying to get to faster than if you were just consistent and you let that momentum grow. You'll get there faster. They use like wheels. They use little wheels on strings to show the momentum of this. And that's really what's happening here. You have to be open. You have to have patience. You have to just be consistent, but you got to relax. That's all this is saying, honestly. It's just saying relax. So more coming across, but I'm going to leave you here.